decided, I wanted to just sink into this, so I sat down, I closed my eyes, and I just, in a way that, is difficult. We were talking about sort of functional freeze earlier. It's hard to always allow myself to sink in that way, and so I just, I stopped, and I just let myself be there and present, and it brought me into my feeling in this really deep way where I could honestly feel the hurt that I had done her, right? And the pain that really just two people being different and struggling to know how to communicate and how to own our desires and do so in a way that when people want different things, and it causes hurt. And I was able to sit with that and just not run from the fact that I had hurt her. And as I sat with that, I cried, and I could feel that and see her pain. And as I kind of similar to ADP, on the other side of that, what opened up was this sense that yes, I can cause people pain, and I can still be a good person.
Wow.
And so I literally could
feel that, but to knowing it, it's so different.
Myself expanding before my eyes, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And so I was suddenly holding both of those,
Yes.
right? I can be a being of love and care and compassion,
Yes.
and still end up hurting people.
Yeah.
And flash through a variety of experiences in my life where I did end up hurting people.
Yeah. We do. Yeah.
It's
can't be helped.
Yeah.
You're just a separate human being.
I think it's
liberating.
Yeah, to me, as I've started to understand, it's a natural consequence of difference.
Yes, exactly.
And
it's maybe the crux of so much how humans respond so badly to difference, with prejudice and oppression and shame, pushing away, and right, because they can't hold.
Yeah, I shamed myself about our differences for a long time in a way that sort of perpetuated this, probably only increased the hurt, right? Versus I had an experience this summer where I just, a woman I had talked to, and I said, I'm not looking for a relationship right now. I was very transparent about where I was and what I wanted, and just along the way always owned what I wanted.
Yes.
And if she wanted something different, that was fine.
Yeah.
And I could totally hold space for her needing to move in a different direction or wanting something different.
Yes.
And doesn't need to be shame. It's just
is.
Here we are, two people who just need different things at this point in our life.
Right, and none of us are bad.
No.
We're both good.
Yeah.
And it just is. And it's hard. Yeah.
So I just kind of sat in that space and just felt myself and and then when I stood up, it was you just feel that breath. You're oh wait, okay.
Yeah.
I can start making steps forward.
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah. Which is huge, right? And I so relate how liberating that type of growth really, really is. And in couples work, it just brings up this idea of try to help people, the liberation from being accountable and caring, but you don't have to do anything. But you can be accountable and say, I know my actions or how I feel hurts you. It's not my intent, but I know it's the case, and I'm so, so sorry. And
just honoring the sadness, I think that
exactly
causes, right? And that doesn't mean anyone's bad.
Right.
It's just it is sad that we can't all be on the same page at the same time.
Exactly. It is so sad. And then when you can do that, you don't have to be defensive anymore. You can stay connected. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's the crux of so much healing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think, I was connected to myself after that,
Yeah.
right? And could kind of surrender to the expansiveness. I found myself thinking of the Walt Whitman line in Leaves of Grass where he says, I am large, I contain multitudes.
Yeah.
Do I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, I'm all these things.
Yes. Oh, I love that quote.
It's, yeah.
Thanks for that. It's an inspirational for a blog post. Yeah.
Nice, yeah. I share that with a lot of people
Yeah.
because like, the reality is that we are like walking contradictions,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. No, and to be able to hold conflicts separately is like such a huge part of just educating, just telling people that. Like, it's a simple thing, like, you can hate and love, you can, and they're not reconcilable, so you just have to hold them separately and get to know each part of you and radically accept each part and then think through how we move forward. So
Yeah.
that's it.
I can be very self-focused and I can be other-focused, and both of those propensities do not make me a bad person, right? Like,
You just make it a person.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Or somehow like, sure, I'm internally inconsistent, and
Yeah.
yet like that doesn't mean more,
Yeah.
right? It's just I am complex,
Yes.
large.
Right. I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
I'm complex. And I am big, right? That idea of
Yeah.
staying big and that there's enough room in this room and in the world for everybody to be big. Nobody has to be squashed. And then to connect. Yeah.
That's one of my big pieces in as I like look for a partner,
Yeah.
is somebody who is big,
Yeah.
but big in
Not
kind
a
of,
Donald Trump way.
well, big in a self-possessed way.
Yes.
Such that there's actually space for me to be big.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I've often experienced like, okay, I can help you be big,
Right.
but you don't know how to be big while I'm big.
Yes. Yeah. It's like so huge, these themes.
And like, if I'm just doing myself,
Yes.
then you end up really small, and I
Yes.
don't want that.
Right.
But I also don't want to make myself small,
Right.
and like have to be constantly denying
Right.
kind of my desires, or like not really saying what I want because I know if I say it, then you're going to defer to that.
Yes.
And it's like, no, how about we both say it and then we can figure out what we're gonna do.
Exactly.
And like, sure, we'll disagree, and sometimes we'll be annoyed that like we want different things.
Yes.
But like that's the
Exactly.
work of being two empowered people.
Exactly. 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 Yeah. It's the crux of so much, and it's like, it's so simple in concept, but it really does help to hear it. I really more and more love working with couples or just two people to negotiate differences, and I think a lot that it's so simple, like, and I tell this to couples that I'm working with, that if you have different needs, there's only two possible solutions. It's not rocket science. You either compromise, and when you can't compromise, then you take turns. So that's just the end result. So all the emotions that are the tricky thing to navigate through, but when those are done, there's only two ways to solve problems.
Would you ever,
anyway.
when you say take turns, I'm also wondering if like,
Yeah.
maybe this is a compromise. It's
Yeah.
like, well, you want to do this, I want to do
Yeah.
this, we're going to do our thing separately.
Yes.
Is that a compromise, or is
Yes.
that like, okay?
I guess I'd call that a compromise, yeah.
I think sometimes, at least in my conception, I
Yeah.
think of compromise as like coming together, but
Yes.
but in a way, I think you are
You're compromising your desire to be together.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think that's super important too, right? Like, we don't have to do everything together.
that's right.
Um,
That's absolutely right. I'm totally with you.
yeah.
And that's liberating also, that we can do things apart and stay lovingly connected. Of course, because it's so loaded, again, the feelings of comings and goings, of abandonments, and what does it mean if you're happy doing this on your own? And again, it's not either or. I can be happy alone and I'm happy with you. It's, again, that parrot that's like, it doesn't diminish you because I want to hang out with a friend of mine a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.